I refuse to talk about the Dallas Cowboys this episode. I won't let them do it. So, expect the spicy from other sources, but just a fair warning before we get to the ad. No Cowboys today.
About that. Big trust. Woo woo.
I'm tired of the pain. Run it.
Hey.
What up, you number one podcast listeners?
What it do, baby?
You've tuned in to the number one podcast in your headphones, Premal. That's right, don't ever get it twisted, don't ever play yourselves. You already know, I'm your host, Premal of the Play Call Network. Back for another spicy edition. You know why you came here. First up, yeah fam or nah. And the last one of these is the final college football playoff rankings. Conference championship round is complete. We have our bowl matchups and, more importantly, our college football playoff semifinal matchups. The final ranking, of course, which you already know by now, is number 1 LSU, who will face off in the Peach Bowl against Oklahoma, who's number 4, and champions of the Big 12. Ohio State dropped to number 2 after their Big 10 championship win against Wisconsin. They will face number 3 Clemson, ACC champs, if you call the ACC an actual conference.
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
That matchup will take place in Arizona in the Fiesta Bowl. So, obviously the 4 teams were known by the end of the weekend. It played itself out, but the order of the rankings was what was widely debated. Yeah, fam or not, they got the rankings correct. First of all, I knew this would happen, especially with Ohio State's poor performance in the first half against the Badgers in the Big Ten Championship. They got down 21-7 at half. Real slow start, their worst half of the season easily. See, I get the rankings are prisoner of the moment, but the final rankings are supposed to be an entire season taken into account, a rankings of totality, if you will. It's not just what happened, what they just witnessed. Yes, LSU dominated the number 4 team, but maybe, just fucking maybe, that number 4 team isn't actually the 4th best team. Maybe, just maybe, a team that loses at home to a 4-win South Carolina team shouldn't be ranked that fucking high. Maybe, I don't know. I might be crazy though. I'm the fucking crazy one. The fact of the matter is, the committee proved their ultimate prisoner of the moment because what do we know? The Big Ten Championship is the last game of the night, and that's what they saw before they went to bed and reconvened in the morning to decide these rankings. So, despite Ohio State's comeback and their 27 unanswered points to end up winning by 13 against Wisconsin, it didn't matter to them. They'd already made up their mind because LSU beat this phenomenally ranked Georgia team that got beat in their own stadium by a team who only had 3 additional wins the entire season. So obviously both teams have a case for number 1, Ohio State and LSU. It was a razor-thin margin according to the committee. But in interest of my bias and what I think is right, Ohio State has one more top 25 win than LSU. It has more dominant wins. And even if you're being prisoner of the moment, Ohio State finished the season playing 3 top 12 teams in consecutive weeks with an average point differential of over 17 points. They played Penn State, Michigan, and Wisconsin back-to-back-to-back en route to getting their back-to-back-to-back Big Ten title.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
So did they get the rankings right? What the fuck do you think? Nah, they didn't get it right. You played yourself, committee. And you played yourself if that discussion wasn't long enough. It must be fucking nice to be a fan of a conference still regarded higher than the others for no fucking reason. Gosh, be careful of those 4-win South Carolinas in the SEC. It's a slugfest out there. It's a fucking slug. Do you honestly think South Carolina could even fucking compete in the Big Ten? You honestly think that the loser of the SEC and the loser of the Big Ten wouldn't be comparable? It's just because they ranked that damn conference higher. How else could a fucking team, who by the way finished number 5 in the rankings, how else could a fucking team who loses that bad And it is a bad loss, no matter how you slice it. Yes, they only lost by 3. They lost at home with a fully healthy team to South fucking Carolina, the Gamecocks. They lost, flat out. Did they get the rankings right? My fucking ass. And if you don't think it fucking matters, you're A, a coach, B, a player, or C, delusional. Because LSU is 10-point favorites in their bowl game, while Ohio State is not even favored in theirs as a higher seed. If you think fucking number 1 didn't matter. Don't fucking flip-flop them if you thought LSU was there the whole time. LSU and Ohio State each split 3 weeks and 3 weeks at number 1.
Enjoy this moment, and have fun with it.
The fuck does that tell you? They don't know what the fuck they're doing. By the way, if you're curious, the other New Year's Six Bowls were also announced. You have the Rose Bowl being number 6 Oregon, who won the Pac-12, ruined Utah's chances, more on that later, and runner-up in the Big Ten, number 8 Wisconsin. The Orange Bowl is number 9 Florida versus number 24 Virginia. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and hit snooze on that one. The Sugar Bowl is number 5, yes, number 5 Georgia versus number 7 Baylor. And the Cotton Bowl is number 10 Penn State versus non-Power 5, the highest ranked of those, number 17 Memphis. Take what you will, more on those other bowl matchups later. But a couple good matchups there, especially that Rose Bowl number 6 versus number 8. And the Sugar Bowl, number 5, Georgia versus number 7, Baylor. Here's to hoping Baylor whacks Georgia so we can finally put that bullshit to rest.
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
Before we get to the rest of the NFL, felt like it was worth bringing this topic up, especially what's going on in the NFC. Yeah, fam or not, to the following. The NFL should change up their playoff format. We also know this by now. But there's a real possibility a 7-9 team could host a 13-win team in a playoff game. So we all know Dallas and Philly are vying for the NFC East title at a whopping 9-7, 8-8, or 7-9. And then over in the NFC West, you have 2 teams in the 49ers and Seahawks vying for a top seed, while the other is going to be forced into a wild card spot and have to be in number 5. I mean, it might strike you as crazy because this one benefits me, but I'm a fan to changing up the playoff format. I think the same number of teams should make it, as in each of 4 division winners and 2 wild cards. But after those 6 teams are decided on each side of the NFC and AFC, I think the seeds should be reordered. There is absolutely no reason the Cowboys or Eagles deserve a home playoff game over the Seahawks or 49ers. Just because it happens to be that you play in a tough division or a shitty one doesn't mean you get rights over a home playoff game. If you're wondering, obviously the AFC doesn't come into play with this one. This has been a discussion because of the sorry-ass performance of the NFC East, like historically bad. But for the record, the current playoff seeding under this scenario of reordering the teams based on their record would be bye weeks for number 1 seed San Francisco and number 2 seed Green Bay. And then the way it would look is the number 3 seed New Orleans Saints would host the Cowboys. This is current. Obviously, that'd be between the Cowboys and Eagles. And currently, it'd be number 4 Seattle actually getting a home game versus number 5 Minnesota. So I think, and I feel most people are for this method, especially knowing the NFC East. I like rewarding a division winner, but not to this extent. And just like last episode, wanted to do a few NFL headlines, kind of rapid fire, even more rapid fire headlines, just to get my quick takes on what's going on in the NFL.
I'm about that. Big trust. Woo woo.
So, fam or not, of the following. First up, the Niners-Saints game was a preview of the NFC Championship. A lot of people are being prisoner of the moment. I am no college football playoff committee here.
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
I'm a not yet, at least. I still have to see who ends up with the bye weeks between these 2 teams, Seattle and Green Bay. The Super Bowl representatives haven't come from Wild Card Weekend since 2010. And, interesting note, since the Wild Card began in 1970, there's been only 10 Wild Card teams that have advanced all the way to the Super Bowl in its entirety.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
So bye weeks matter, folks. And I'm not ready to say this is a preview until this close NFC race for the top seeds plays its way out. Yeah, fam or not, OBJ's time in Cleveland is over after this season. So there's been a lot going on with Odell Beckham. He's been, to his credit, very quiet, a great teammate by all accounts. It just came out that he might be a little bit more hurt and was supposed to have surgery but never did. He was kind of cryptic in being asked about his future in Cleveland. Even though he signed a big deal, they wouldn't have real financial loss by letting him go. I'm a yeah fan to this because where there's smoke, there's fire. We'll see what ends up happening in this scenario, but the Browns have not done a great job getting Odell the ball this year. His stats are way down. Yes, his injury might have something to do with it, but still, it's one of the most dynamic players not being used correctly. So I'm a yeah fan. I think this will be one and done for Odell, and he will look to go elsewhere. Next one, Ryan Tannehill is going to be a hot commodity this offseason. So, Tannehill replaced Marcus Mariota as starter for the Tennessee Titans after Week 6. The Titans are now 8-5 and have won 6 of 7 games since he became starter. They are in a tie with Houston for first place in the AFC South with 2 of their final 3 games coming against the Texans. This past week, he threw for 3 touchdowns and nearly 400 yards passing. And since becoming starter, he's thrown for nearly 1,900 yards, 15 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions, and an over 70% completion percentage. Worth noting, he did come in for Mariota in a Week 6 loss to Denver, but I didn't really count that against him. As for Tannehill being a hot commodity, I'm a nah to this one. And the only reason I say that is because I think the Titans don't let him go. I think he stays put, and he seems like the kind that is loyal. The team that gave him a chance, I think he'll reward. And I think Mike Vrabel is going to stick with them going forward. So, yes, he would be a desired hot commodity, but I don't think he will being one. And last but not least, Denver finally found their quarterback in rookie Drew Lock. In the most stunning game of this past week, the Broncos beat the Texans big. The 38-24 final score did not do it justice. The Texans got some garbage time touchdowns, good for Deshaun Watson fantasy owners, but Locke threw for 235 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half. He's now 2-0 as a starter. To this headline, I say yeah, fam, but obviously cautiously. I never buy too heavy into a rookie quarterback. There's no film on him. Even the least bit prepared, there's a level of surprise to it. I mean, I understand the Broncos whooped the Texans, but I see that game as more of an anomaly. Kind of a Texans hangover after their big win versus New England. So I'm not resting too much on it, but 2-0 is impressive and good for the Broncos because they have not had someone at quarterback since Peyton Manning retired. Now we're on to likey, no likey, hate it. And first up, my likey is to the Ohio State University being the only team to make a New Year's Six bowl game in each of the college football playoffs 6 years of its existence. You love to hear it. You love to see it.
About that. Big trust. Woo woo.
I know Lakey kind of brings up a previous game. We're just going to act like that instant classic of a Niners-Saints game wasn't just absolutely atrocious defense. What happened to the Saints defense last few weeks since Drew Brees took over, and this top Niners defense just got shredded on Sunday. So, I mean, it was a entertaining game, but we're just gonna act like these defenses forgot how to play.
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
On to hate it. You know, I won't let them do it. I won't. I said at the top of the episode, you know what? Fuck it.
What it do, baby?
You know why you're here. I got to give the number one podcast listeners what they tuned in for.
About that. Big trust.
You're goddamn right. My hate it is to the Dallas Cowboys. What's fucking new? So this came from a tweet from ESPN's Trey Wingo. He said, per Elias Sports, the Cowboys have the second best point differential in NFL history by a team with a losing record through 13 games. The Cowboys have scored 67 more points than their opponents, and they are 6-7. 67. Cool. This from Fox Sports 1's Nick Wright. The 6-7 Cowboys have scored more points than the 10-3 Seahawks, allowed fewer points than the Seahawks, gained more yards and allowed fewer yards than the Seahawks. Cool. Oh, and their kicker, Brett Maher, who missed another crucial field goal this past week and had the following to say, quote, I felt like I did a good job staying in my lane this week. I felt like I hit every ball pretty well tonight. I'll put my head on the pillow tonight feeling good about what I did this week and moving forward. End quote.
Listen, you son of a bitch. What the fuck's your problem?
Cool. Listen, you. So Maher's 10 misses this season are more than any kicker in a single season in the last 4 years. The Cowboys finally got the hint, having cut Brett Maher and signed veteran kicker Kai Forbath. Maybe, just maybe, his 10 misses were the most in 4 years because teams usually move on before you'd ever let a kicker get to 10 misses. The Cowboys held kicker workouts last week, and they stuck with Maher.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
If missing 1/3 of your field goals on the year lets you sleep well, man, I need this man's attitude. This guy gives zero fucks. He sucks at his job. It must be amazing to live in that stupid. It must be amazing to live in that delusion. Kind of crazy to think, Dallas had Dan Bailey at one point. Dan fucking Bailey. And how do we get to this point? And then you have Jerry Jones getting mad during his weekly radio spot. Never mind the fact that an owner GM has his own weekly radio spot. And never mind that same guy has a post-game press conference after each game. Fucking cool. What a goddamn clown show. Alright, Joker. You know what time it is.
Here we go.
It's time for you boys' favorite segment. Your favorite segment. You Played Yourself. First up on You Played Yourself is the Utah Utes. So in the penultimate rankings, Utah was ranked number 5 with a great chance to get into the college football playoff. They were in the Pac-12 championship this past Friday, facing Oregon. Utah proceeded to play its worst game of the year by far, getting smoked by Oregon, and life comes at you fast because now Utah is playing in the Alamo Bowl against big blockbuster LSU resume building team Texas.
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
You played yourself. Next up on You Played Yourself, Chairman Rob Mullins of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee said that they had Georgia in contention for the number 4 spot after their loss to LSU.
Listen, you son of a bitch. What the fuck's your problem?
I will repeat this. What is the infatuation with the Georgia team that lost by 27 in a virtual home conference championship game and actually lost at home to the South Carolina Gamecocks, who finished with 4 wins? The reason for LSU getting to jump OSU is this fucking team? Get the fuck out of here. Hanging their hat on a win on this overrated team? By the way, here's, I tend to not play this card because nobody wants to hear this. But if you are naive and think there's no bias, please, I offer you how Georgia wasn't the least bit punished for an atrocious loss to South Carolina, while in previous years, that's not been the case for anyone else. Ohio State, the one I know the most, has lost awful games to Iowa and Purdue in consecutive years. It caused them to miss out on the college football playoffs. Georgia was being considered for number 4 after losing a conference championship game by 27? Give me a fucking break.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
27 goddamn points? A loss that big? And you want to put them as your 4th best team? Over a Big 12 conference champion, Oklahoma? Next up on You Played Yourself, sticking in college, Nebraska football. The pretty much almost official Heisman Trophy winner from this year, Joe Burrow, wanted to go to Nebraska and play for the Cornhuskers, but was told no, he wasn't good enough by Nebraska. The what will be Heisman Trophy winner to the number 1 seed LSU Tigers was told no by the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Got a couple over into the NFL before we head to who you got and what you feeling. Next up, New England Tom Brady, its fans. So this past weekend, the refs blew a fumble dead too early and called wide receiver N'Keal Harry out of bounds before he actually scored a touchdown. Upon replay, he never stepped out, and they took what would have been 6 points off the board. And the Patriots ended up settling for 3 that drive. Man, the refs are so bad, even the Patriots have to suffer, right? Nah, fuck all that.
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
Oh my God, poor you, Tom Brady, its fans. Did you have some refs blow a few calls, did you? Oh, poor you. Maybe, instead of your coach wasting a challenge on a ball spot, you could have got that N'Keal Harry call overturned. Or maybe that N'Keal Harry play still resulted in a 1st and goal from the 3-yard line. You could have maybe punched in a touchdown from there. I don't know. Gosh, we really ought to feel sorry for you, just like we should feel sorry for the Golden Snake Warriors, shouldn't we? Get the fuck out of here. Those tripping calls you got gifted against the Cowboys, man, that wasn't you? The Tuck rule, not you either? Yeah, let me go ahead and save these fucking crocodile tears for you, Pats Nation. Fuck out of here. And here we go again. Last but not least, our new favorite topic of this, our boy, Bakey Bakes, Baker Mayfield, at it again. So, I mentioned earlier about Odell Beckham and his injury. Baker Mayfield criticized the way the Browns have handled Odell Beckham Jr.'s injury, saying after their win against the Bengals, quote, "I'd say that it wasn't handled right. He's not able to run as well as he should be able to, as well as he knows. And that's frustrating for him. You can see some of his frustration where that comes from. It wasn't handled the right way in our training room. It is what it is. His not 100% is still good enough for us." End quote. So Mayfield's comments came after reports that OBJ's weighing off-season surgery to correct an injury. I've heard reports that it was a sports hernia surgery. It's something he's been dealing with since training camp. I think our good pal, Mr. Bakey Bakes, realized he was an idiot and, surprise, surprise, took to Twitter to try to clean up his mess again, saying, quote, "My intentions were not to throw our medical staff under the bus. No, I don't know all the facts about Odell's injury. It was emotionally answered because I can sense his frustration, and I care about my team and putting us in the best position to win. Those people within our building know my intentions and where I'm coming from. I truly believe that, and I apologize to those that don't deserve the backlash. Today was a good team win. On to the next one." End tweet. What gives this man a right to comment on every single goddamn thing in this entire organization? The training staff? You know, that is virtually still your team, your teammates. You're supposed to be the leader, and you're creating yet another distraction for your team? What dumbass let this guy be the voice of this team? Oh, that's right. That dumbass who's head coach leads his team to being one of the most penalized, one of the most undisciplined, one of the most underperforming teams. That's who. The training staff? What the fuck do you know about any of this? Do you think it's going to help the situation at all, Bakes? Does this guy ever just say nothing? Like, of all questions, you have something to say about a medical issue now, Dr. Bakes?
Congratulations, you played yourself.
I mean, keep it coming. I love the fucking content. You know, just when I think there isn't something else you can mess up, you start commenting on how your training staff's doing. What an idiot. As for who you got and what you feeling, a recap of last episode's picks. The last episode, I had that big NFL matchup to pick, the 49ers at the Saints. They were both 10-2 entering the game. New Orleans was a 2.5-point favorite. I went with the Niners and specifically said their defense would rebound from a close loss to Lamar Jackson.
I'm about that. Big trust. Woo woo.
Their defense did not rebound, but they did win, so I'll take the win, I guess. And then I picked the conference championship games. For the SEC championship, I picked LSU to beat Georgia. LSU won big, 37-10. I, of course, reluctantly and cautiously picked Ohio State to win the Big Ten. Worried that it was tough to beat a team twice, and they sure proved me right in the first half. The Bucks did get it done, winning 34-21 after being down 21-7 at half. And they secured their third straight Big Ten title. For the Big 12 championship, it was Oklahoma versus Baylor. Oklahoma was favored by over a touchdown. And Oklahoma won their regular season meeting after a huge comeback. I went with the upset Baylor since they should have won meeting one. So I was thinking they got revenge. I was incorrect. Very close, but incorrect. Oklahoma won 30-23 in overtime and secured the fourth and final playoff spot. As for the Pac-12 championship, it was previous number 5 Utah versus previous number 13 Oregon. I went with Oregon and the upset. They were flying under the radar. I know I wasn't the only one to make that pick and ended up being correct. They rolled in this game. And I didn't even bother with the ACC championship because who the fuck cares?
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
Again, if you forgot, Clemson did in fact play. They might as well not have had to, but they played Virginia, who somehow got into a New Year's Six Bowl. Probably from conference allegiance, but yuck. And based on my picks from last week, my college football playoff top 4, I had as Ohio State, LSU, Clemson, and number 4 Baylor, since I thought they'd win. Obviously, it was a little off there. LSU ended up being 1, Ohio State 2, Clemson 3. And because Oklahoma beat Baylor, they were 4. Worth noting for your semifinal matchups on Saturday, December 28th, LSU and Oklahoma play first at 4 p.m. and Ohio State and Clemson play at the 8 p.m. Eastern slot on Saturday, December 28th. This week, for my NFL matchup, I wanted to pick the Bills at Steelers. The Bills are 9-4. The Steelers 8-5. Right now, Pittsburgh, I think, opened as just 2-point favorites at home. They are undefeated with Duck Hodges starting. And the Bills are coming off a tough loss versus the Ravens. These two teams are currently number 5 and number 6 in the AFC, respectively, holding on to 2 wildcard berths. As for my pick, I think I'm going to go with the Steelers at home. I think the speed they have on defense will work to neutralize Josh Allen, kind of follow the same recipe the Ravens used to keep him in check and in the pocket and not escaping. Another big matchup to keep an eye on, the AFC South showdown I mentioned a little earlier. This coming week, the Texans visit Nashville to play the Titans. They're both teams are 8-5 and fighting for a playoff spot and the AFC South crown. They play each other this coming week and then again in the final week of the regular season. So 2 times in the last 3 weeks to decide who wins the division. The one that doesn't is still in line for fighting for a wild card spot, but obviously that division crown guarantees them a playoff spot. So they're going for that one. And I won't bother picking this game because I won't do my family like that.
What it do, baby?
Over to college, since the bowl games aren't for a while, I figured I wouldn't try to track those picks. I'll make them closer to when they happen. I wanted to do some non-New Year's Six bowl games to keep an eye on. Just a few matchups you might have missed in the hustle and bustle of announcing all these. And I got two of them, just having looked at it really quick. The Citrus Bowl is Michigan versus Alabama. Could not hate two teams more, probably, and they play each other, so keep an eye on what talent actually plays in that game, since that's a new wrinkle to this fold, who actually suits up for these bowl games instead goes and starts to get ready for the NFL draft. The other bowl I have is the Outback Bowl. It is Minnesota versus Auburn. I think Minnesota will be very motivated in this game. They went from potential college football playoff contender all the way down to this point, just from a few quick losses. So I would expect them to be highly motivated in this one to leave this season on a positive note. The Heisman finalists were announced. The 4 players that will be heading to New York. Joe Burrow, obviously. Justin Fields, quarterback for Ohio State. Jalen Hurts, quarterback for Oklahoma. And Chase Young, defensive end for Ohio State. Instead of picking who will win, because we all know it's pretty much Burrow's, wanted to do a few other angles of the Heisman. Who will finish second? For that pick, I'm going to go with Justin Fields. I believe he does end up finishing second. Fields is responsible for 50 total touchdowns, 40 through the air, 10 on the ground. He's only thrown 1 interception this year, and of course led Ohio State to Big Ten title and an undefeated season so far, and a berth in the college football playoff. The other thing I wanted to mention is who got snubbed. Obviously, with limited spots in New York, I think these are the 4 most people thought. But I wanted to bring up a few names just so they get their due. And they're all running backs. The first one I have is Chuba Hubbard, running back for Oklahoma State. Hubbard had 1,936 yards in only 12 games for Oklahoma State. He had 21 rushing touchdowns. The other big name, especially because of his career stats, having amassed a ton of them, is Jonathan Taylor. He ran for just over 1,900 yards at 21 touchdowns. Had a big Big Ten championship game, too. And last but not least, my number one pick for who got snubbed, and yes, it is biased, is J.K. Dobbins, running back for Ohio State. Dobbins had 1,829 yards this season and 20 rushing touchdowns, so just one shy of Jonathan Taylor and Chuba Hubbard. The reason I say, despite him having the least amount of yards, he is the best of the 3, is because Dobbins put up these numbers not having played in the fourth quarters of multiple games due to OSU's margin of victory in many of their games. And if you don't believe me, I mean, first of all, you could look up his second half snaps. He had just 58 carries in the second half of games. That was a stat from 2 weeks ago, so obviously he's had more since then. But the biggest evidence for this is Ohio State's backup running back, Master Teague, ran for 780 yards this season. 780. So let's take a conservative, if the Buckeyes were playing in the second half, let's take a conservative 200 yards from the backup if they were in closer games. You'd be looking at Dobbins with over 2,000 yards rushing. He does have another 200 receiving. So then we're not even stealing any of Master Teague's touchdowns. Let's leave those. But he would be responsible for 22 touchdowns in this scenario. And last but not least, for this little Heisman run of little bets here, did Chase Young have a real chance if he wasn't suspended 2 games? And I will say absolutely yes. The 2 games he missed would have been stat sheet stuffers, would have been good for Chase Young's numbers. Chase Young came back for this tough 3-game stretch, Penn State, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And if you saw anything from those games or screenshots, Chase Young was definitely attracting double team blocks, even triple teams at times. So didn't really get to add to his stats. I think with those 2 games against Rutgers and Maryland, he would have padded them a little bit more. And I think it's obviously going to cost them. This is Joe Burrow's award, but I think he would have had a real chance and probably at least would have been that second place finisher with having played a full season instead of a suspension. Anyway, as for what I'm feeling is getting to witness the Ohio State University win back-to-back Big Ten championships in person, having been in Lucas Oil Stadium all 3 years in Indianapolis. You absolutely love to see it. Go Bucks. And as for my too much sense, last episode I kind of talked a little bit about taking a sec before you react too strongly, especially if you're a hothead. This time might sound contradictory, but if you're not one of those people that tends to react quickly or isn't one of those, I would suggest the opposite. Being forward with what your expectations are. My too much sense, the advice you didn't think you need, is to be forward about what you want. Let people know how you're feeling. No one can assume anything, so you quiet folk, especially you, make sure you tell those around you how you're feeling. Yes, I know some of you hate confrontation, but sometimes it's necessary, and that's how progress is made. So, too much sense. Definitely for those quiet folk out there that don't like to address anything, force yourself to a little bit. People can't know that they're hurting you if you won't tell them. People can't know that they're hurting you if you won't tell them. And with that too much sense wraps up another edition of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. You already know, don't get it twisted, don't ever play yourselves. You know the drill. Rate, review, subscribe. Tell some friends, tell some family, the holidays coming up. Give them the gift that keeps on giving, a subscription to my podcast.
I'm about that. Big trust. Woo woo.
You heard me? And also, please check out the other amazing Play Call Network podcasts. Support these amazing people who work so hard. Support your boy. I appreciate you. And we'll talk to you next time.